Hi, greetings. It's me, Dr. Paul Gerhardt, and this is video number 8 for my Human Resource Management series. And in this video, we're going to talk about developing employees for future success. And so within this video, we're going to have to distinguish the difference between training and development, and they both kind of intermingle, and they're both related. And so particularly, we're going to talk about personality assessments, how job experiences can be used for developing skills, talk about mentoring programs a little bit, and how managers and peers develop employees through coaching, and career management. And in any organization, you have human resource professionals who are helping managers make the best decisions. And what managers really need to know is that you shouldn't see employees as being there for a short period of time. You want them to grow and develop their skills so that they continue to grow and keep the talent within the organization. And hopefully, as people retire within higher levels of the organization, that people at each level continue to grow and take the next steps within that organization. That's kind of an ideal way to keep the talent in your organization. But that means that people need to be developed. And employee development really is about ongoing formal education. It's about job experiences, it's about relationships, it's about assessment of personality, and being able to help employees prepare for the future within their careers. And it's really about preparing for change in new jobs, responsibilities, and requirements. So I want to talk about the differences between training and development. So the focus on training really is in the current here and now, and the development is about future. The use of work experience, training is low, and in development it's high. For as far as goals, training is about preparing for the current job goals, and development is about preparation for changes. And then participation is required in training, and in development it's usually kind of voluntary. So training and development, career management. Protean career is a career that frequently changes based on changes in the person's interests, abilities, values, and in the work environment. Today, they say the millennials are the biggest generation, and they are said to have protean careers, and they change their jobs often. As employees, we constantly need to know that we need to remain marketable. And employees must constantly continue to develop their own new skills. And even if you plan on working for the same company for the rest of your life, this is true too. You have to keep your organization strong by constantly updating your personal skills, or your organization gets weaker and weaker and weaker. It's just like exercising. If you're not exercising, you're going to get not as strong as you were when you were exercising. So there are 4 approaches essentially to employee development: interpersonal relationships, formal education, job experiences, and assessment. Let's talk about formal education. This includes workshops, short courses, lectures, business games, experiential programs, and meeting with customers. Many companies operate training and development centers. They have their own ongoing plans for formal education. With assessments, it really is essentially about taking and collecting information and then providing feedback to employees about their behavior, communication styles, and skills. And it can come from employees, peers, managers, or customers. So there are lots of different methods for assessment, and if you're interested in doing training and development, you might think about getting certified in things like Myers-Briggs or MBTI or DISC, D-I-S-C. There are assessment centers and performance appraisals, 360-degree feedback, which is really important to be able to understand who you are. There are many approaches to employee development. Learning about their preferences for communicating and getting work done. This can help employees contribute to teams better and choose better career paths that they're likely to thrive in. We all have our own individual talents and preferences, and when we are working within our preferences and our strengths, we tend to get better and better and better. And this is really an important concept. So we could probably learn to do just about anything, but if it isn't really within our world of preferences, what we will love doing, want to do, and like doing, and are good at doing, we're probably not going to be doing as well as other people who would be probably a better fit for those jobs. One way to develop employees is to begin with an assessment that may consist of assigning an activity to a team and seeing who brings out the skills and strengths to the team. And this can have a lot of advantages, and I call it emergent leadership, where people see how, learn things about themselves, or maybe they know things about their skills and abilities, but those are the things that naturally come out. So job experiences are important. Tasks, relationships, problems, demands from other employees' jobs. All of these things provide valuable experiences that we can continue to develop and use as a foundation for future successes. Some relationships that we can have, help us find interests in things that we may not even realize that we were interested in. Job assignments, your managers can put people, give people more responsibility, do job rotation, transfer people to other departments, transfer them in from other departments, promote people. Sometimes downward moves may be the right move for an employee. They were in a position that wasn't quite right for them, and so a position down in the lower area of the organization might be more suitable for an employee. You want employees to be happy in what they do, and generally speaking, when they love what they do, they tend to do it better. Sometimes organizations do what's called a sabbatical, and it allows employees to have time away from the actual workplace to go on and develop certain skills. So lots of different ways to do development. So we talked about transfers, we talked about job rotation. Temporary assignments very often help people develop new skills, something to think about, moving people around. Interpersonal relationships are something that we need to talk about too. Everything is about relationships, and the more people get along, the more that they can talk, and the more mentoring and coaching that can take place. And when you mentor somebody, you learn something from that person, and the same thing with coaching. And so really learning is always a two-way process, and whenever you're reflecting on anything and focusing, that's where you're going to get your results. Career management is something that I'd like to talk about a little bit too. Basically there are 4 different steps in career management. 1 is data gathering, 2 is feedback, 3 is goal setting, and 4 action planning and following up. If you are a manager, you really want to help your employees understand where they are now, help them understand who they are and what they're contributing, and find out what their goals are so that you can better help create professional development opportunities to help them be the very best that they want to be and get to where they want to go. Sometimes that happens to be outside of an organization, but if you're showing interest in an employee and helping him or her be the very best that they can be, it helps move the organization forward because people feel like they're valued. So in the data gathering process, there's a focus on competencies needed for career success, and there's a lot of different types of measures that can be taken place. Feedback, it's really important that when you're giving an employee feedback or you're coaching somebody, that you maintain confidentiality. It's between you and that individual. Focus on success factors, strengths, and areas for improvement. Look at the facts. Listen to the employee when you're giving feedback, but also create an environment where they'll want to hear your insights and ideas, and be open to the fact that you could be wrong. So that it really means that you really need to be looking at the data, things, experiences when you're giving feedback. Goal setting really involves managers, coaches, and mentors, and you should really focus on competencies and knowledge that the individual wants to be developed, or the organization needs of that employee. And so look at the different developmental methods that are available. Action planning and follow-up is very, very important. What gets measured gets improved. So make sure that you are using managers, coaches, mentors, and verify, have some kind of pace that's realistic in the development of the employee. Gathering data is important, and there are different systems that are available for doing that, and some of the systems help gather information about career interests, values, aptitudes, behavioral tendencies, developmental needs. I know that MBTI, Strong Campbell Interest Inventory, self-directed search, these things help people gather information about themselves that they find useful. Feedback. Information employers give employees about their skills and knowledge and where these assets fit into the organization's plans. So it really is important that maybe even each year you make time to sit down with an employee and help that employee, give that employee special time to recognize where they are and figure out where they want to be. So self-assessment exercises really can address maybe six different things. Where am I? Who am I? Where would I like to be, and what would I like to have happen? An ideal year in the future. What does that look like? An ideal job. Take a look at your current goal and think about what kinds of roles that you would like to hold, and what kind of education would be needed in the future in order to get that. And then really do a career objective inventory. What gets you excited? What long-term career goal objectives do you have? So when you are goal setting, it really is about making sure that you take a look at information from self-assessments, reality checks, employee long-term and short-term goals. So you have to take a look at the desired position, level of skill that's needed to apply, work settings, and skill acquisition. What kinds of things do they need to be able to know how to do. In action planning and follow-up, employees prepare an action plan for how they will achieve their short and long-term career goals. Anyone or a combination of development methods may be used depending on career development need and career objectives. So developing a career development goal, you can go out on the web and find what a career development plan looks like. And then on that, you take a look at competencies, strengths, areas for improvement, career goals, next assignments, and training and development needs. And so you have to really think through that process. Again, where you focus, that's where you're going to get your results. So you got to take time to really think about each of those different areas. Some people have a perceived glass ceiling, and maybe that's a real thing in your organizations. It's illegal to discriminate based on many different criteria, as we've talked about in an earlier video, but you have to really recognize that training could make that difference. When job positions come available, are you really ready to take those next steps? And so if you don't have people of a certain background in leadership positions at the top, that's a weakness to your organization. If you want to make your organization stronger, identify people in different background areas and help them get the skills that they need. Succession planning is another big topic. I talk about baby boomers retiring at 10,000 every day. That means each and every day there are fewer and fewer baby boomers in the workplace, and the baby boomers are the ones that have held, the leadership positions for the past few years. And so succession planning really is about identifying key people to fill key positions. And so this really can help people who are in key leadership positions develop people that will replace them. It helps retain and attract new talent into the organization. So there's a lot of different benefits of doing succession planning. And it doesn't leave the organization hanging. So in order to develop a succession plan, you need to, 1, identify a position to plan for, 2, identify employees to include, 3, define job requirements, 4, measure employee potential, 5, review and plan to meet developmental needs, 6, link succession planning with other human resource systems, provide feedback to employees, and then measure your plan's effectiveness. So measurement is always important. So it's an ongoing process. Managers, there really are 6 essential functional behaviors with dysfunctional managers. And managers can be toxic, and they make organizations weaker because they stifle people's ideas and they drive employees away. And that really is an important concept. If that describes you, take a look at yourself and recognize that you need to take a step back. Here are the 6 dysfunctional behaviors of bad managers. Insensitivity to others, inability to be a team player, arrogance, poor conflict management skills, inability to meet business objectives, and inability to adapt to change. So if any of those things describes you or employees that work for you, you need to make sure that you take action and help people recognize how their actions may be having negative consequences of others in the organization and essentially making the organization weaker. So here are just a few things to think about when creating developmental plans for people within your organization. It's one of the most important things that human resource people do. I know I've given you a lot of information in this long video, but I hope you found this information important to you and that you can use it. And even more importantly than that, I hope you have a great day, because only you get to choose how you feel about it. I'm Dr. Paul Gerhardt.